Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Lloyd and I source cars for people on a professional basis. Although most of the cars I source are between £1,000 and £5,000, very often I've been asked to show something a little bit cheaper on the channel, and so I came up with No Budget Reviews, the series where we look at cars that you can buy in good condition with an MOT for under £1,000 and you can enjoy driving. We don't film this in an expensive manner, we don't use separate microphones, we don't use fluid head tripods, we don't even use a DSLR, but we do have a lot of fun. Lloyd Vehicle Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. Those of you who follow the channel for a while will know that I love old, rare Korean cars, and this is no exception. It's a 1997 Hyundai Accent GSi with an automatic gearbox. This is a 1.5 litre version. Bizarrely, the trim levels in the first generation Accent didn't really make any sense. They kind of varied dramatically depending on the body style. So there were 3 and 5 door hatchbacks. The 3 door was normally referred to as a coupe, and there was also a saloon. So the 4 door with a 1.3 engine was an LSI or an SE. The 1.35 door was just an LSI. The 3 door was an I or an SI in the coupe model, and then the 4 door was just available as a 1.5 GLSI, and then the 5 door was a 1.5 GSi GLSI, and then 1.5 16 valve 3 door or coupe was the MVI. There were also special editions. There was an Alaska, 1.3Es, 1.5 Sport, then there was the Sienna and the SE. This is a pre-facelift car. The facelift was either late 97 or early 1998. But I don't know what really you got for your GSi. This hasn't even got an airbag in it. So if you want luxury, you're going to have to step up a little bit in the range, because we've got windy windows, no electric mirrors, no air conditioning, and no airbags or anything. It's just sort of classic kind of 1990s Korean car. There's nothing really to this car at all, and that's part of its charm, really. I think if I were Ian Seabrook, I would want to buy this immediately, but you know, Stephen Yonder's car has just got it, and I don't think he's going to be parting with it for some time. He's just done a bit of work on it, but we're comfortably within our budget today, especially with these wheel trims that are actually off a Hyundai Mica but colour match with the car. We take a seat in the front. We actually do have a rev counter in here, which is abject and utter luxury. We don't get, that's probably a front fog light switch, we don't get that. Wipers on the left, lights and indicators on the right, and a blank switch where the air conditioning would have been. But simple, idiot-proof controls. Clock still works. That's the original stereo in here with the cassette deck. Yeah, rev counter. Wow, sporty. And maybe that's where the fog light switch would be. So, myriad blank switches, windy windows, no electric mirrors, very simple door cards, and a driving position that's actually alright. I don't think there's any height adjustment, but the interior is in really, really nice condition in this car. It's only done 63,000 miles, so maybe that's part of it. And you even get seatbelt height adjustment in here. So just really simple. It's very, very easy to get a comfortable position. Although I've noticed that the rear wash wipe's actually on the dash here. That's sort of a really, as an older car thing. There's this sort of compartment to store things in here. Ashtray full of coins, which I will leave. Cigarette lighter or 12-volt socket. I think this is a 4-speed auto or 3-speed plus overdrive automatic gearbox. I don't remember actually who made this. I can't remember it's Hyundai's own or it's someone else's, like a Mitsubishi unit or something. we're just out of Mitsubishi engineering with this car, because the previous generation car to this, which was called the XL or the Pony or the X2 Pony or the X2, so many different names around the world, produced from about 85 through to 1994, was entirely based on the Mitsubishi Colt or Mirage or loads of different names around the world as well, but this is entirely Hyundai's own work. Right, let's take a seat in the back, shall we? I'm not sure there's going to be a massive amount of room in here, viewers, but we'll give it a try. It's quite hard wearing fabric in here. Actually, it's all right. You know, it's all right. You even got a lumbar adjustment for the driver, I think. In there. That's not bad. Yeah, the headroom's actually all right. It's much better than I thought it would be. Legroom's okay. You can put your feet underneath there. You just got to slouch forward a little bit. It's okay, actually. It's much better than I was expecting in a little car like this. Built-in headrests, you can't adjust those. No rear armrest, of course. You wouldn't get that on the sort of, you know, mid-spec, I suppose this is, because the 1.3 sort of lower spec than this. Just nothing really to sort of worry about. Again, windy windows in the back. Oh, I better put that back for you, as that didn't go very well. There we go. No one will ever notice that. Yeah, windy windows, no central. I think you might get central locking in this, I'm not actually sure. But that's about it. Right, let's take a look in the boot. We can actually use the remote lever to get in. There we go, we've got standard sort of release lever like in a Honda or a Toyota or something of the time. Boot's about, let's say, 300 litres in a car like this. Again, it's not quite as big as something like, I don't know, an Escort, but it's a little bit bigger than, say, it would be in something like a Fiesta. Let's use this. Need to lift up. There we go. There we go. Yes, a full-size spare wheel and a jack. Excellent. I'll tidy that up a little bit later, but it's not a bad size. There's not too much wheel arch intrusion in here, but you know, for the size of the car, that's pretty good. Right, let's take a look at the engine. Well, viewers, despite the fact this is Hyundai's own work, this engine, this Alpha engine, that's still a Mitsubishi style fuel sort of oil filler cap on there. Thank goodness we've got power steering. That was not available, as far as I know, on the pre-facelift 1.3s. So we're glad we've got a 1.5 with automatic transmission, because otherwise I would be twirling my arms like no one's business. 12 valves, of course. There was a 16 valve version of this engine available, but that wasn't actually in any other model other than the sportiest MVI coupe. Electronic fuel injection, that's exciting. It's quite cramped in here, actually. It's not the most amount of space for a car like this to work on it. It's not too bad though, I suppose. You know, modern cars are worse. Main thing to watch actually on these and so many other cars of the era is rust. It'd be nice as well if you do buy one of these to check that the cam belt's been done, because it is a cam belt engine. I can't remember if it's an interference engine actually or not, but it does have a cam belt. Right, let's go for a drive, shall we? It's a privilege to drive a car like this, because it reminds me of a time when Korean cars just weren't the norm. Like the massive sales that Kia and Hyundai have at the moment, and the massive range of cars they sell, the non-warranties they have, just didn't really exist at the time that this car was on the market. There were only 3 engines available in the X3 Accent in this country. There was a 1.3 that only had about 82 horsepower. This is a 1.5, it's a 12 valve 1.5. This one had about 87 horsepower. And then there was a 1.5 in the MVI coupe, about 102 horsepower. This is Hyundai's own unit. It's not the old Mitsubishi units they used to use before this. And it's called the Alpha engine for some reason. They're very reliable engines actually. They sort of follow on from the Mitsubishi base ones. There is a cam belt to change, of course, but you know, that's part of the course or something like this. It's very smooth actually. One thing I'm noticing is we haven't got any air conditioning in here, but that's no real surprise in a car like this. Another thing I've noticed about this car is just how really tiny it feels. It's, I think, somewhere between the size of a Fiesta and an Escort, something like that. The coupe models in particular would have been sort of at the price point of a sort of Fiesta or a Corsa. But of course, you've got generally more equipment for your money anyway. It's just very easy to drive. It doesn't knock and bang as I'd expect a car that costs sort of no budget reviews money to do, and that's 25 years old. I keep going to remember to use the indicator on the right, of course, and some of you will say that is the correct side. There is no ambiguity about that at all. But I'm just used to it being on the left-hand side. Most modern things are. Yeah, it's quite well mannered. The engine's very smooth. It's just so easy to drive. It feels a bit like a sports car because of how low the car is. I can see why somebody who driven a few of these cars back in the day would decide that actually this has a little bit more equipment, it's a little bit bigger than, say, I don't know, Fiesta or Corsa, and that actually this is one that they wanted over those two, even if it was a more sort of obscure option, and many people wouldn't have really known what a Hyundai was. But, you know, I quite like it. Just to say that the first generation Accent was known by a lot of different names around the world. The Hyundai Accent Verna, the Hyundai XL, the Hyundai Pony in France, the Bimantara Cakra in Indonesia, the Cuda Kia Queen Llama in China, and the Dodge Breezer in Venezuela. It was made in South Korea, Turkey, China, Egypt, Venezuela, Indonesia and Botswana. They must have really enjoyed this car in Botswana. If you just literally went to the shops every day in this car and that's all you did, I can't think of anything that's costing, you know, no budget reviews money with this automatic gearbox and power steering that would be much better than this, to be honest. I mean, there's not many of these actually around anymore, so that's another sort of issue really. But steering's not the most accurate I've ever seen, but performance seems perfectly fine. It's got about 87 horsepower, I think, so in a light car like this, it's just really no bother. For the years, these would have been just severely neglected, and you know, they're underappreciated now as they are. But I've really quite enjoyed this. I thought that it would be just really terrible and noisy and horrible, and actually it's not too bad. It's actually reasonably refined and everything. So I'm very grateful to have been able to have a go in this. I'm very grateful to Stephen for bringing it along for me to just have a little try, and I hope that you've enjoyed a little ride out too. Well, viewers, the glamorous first generation Hyundai Accent, the X3, is this a car that you should consider for your hard-earned budget up to £1,000? Well, there's not many of these left, to be honest. They did suffer from quite a rust and neglect, and prices are still really, really low. I don't think these have attracted any form of classic interest yet. Unlike the first generation Lantra, is a little bit older than this, actually, most of those, so that's probably why they attract a bit more interest in these, but these will eventually. I'd really like to have a go in a second generation Accent if anybody has one. If you do, then just a few seconds into the video you would have seen a email address on the screen. Then please do get in touch. But thank you so much indeed once again for watching this episode of No Budget Reviews. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video and leave a comment below, and we'll see you again soon for more inexpensive motoring.